here we are saying, I've got followers. And many people live and breathe by this, like checking how many followers they just gained off their recent post, story, video, whatever. Yet they are doing zero, absolutely zero to gain followers for Christ. It's an egoistic system built all around yourself to build your ego, build arrogance. All these other platforms are there to steal your time.
So here's the unpopular opinion, is that social media is bad, and is bad enough that we should eliminate it.
Welcome back to the Uncharted Podcast, where we talk about and share stories that help you grow and get inspired. Today we have a little bit of a different format. We're going to be talking more with each other than with directly to you. So a little bit different of a format. I hope you enjoy it. Today we're talking about a really interesting topic. Do you want to say it? Am I saying it? I don't want to take the reign. You know what I'm saying?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to understand what our audience is.
Yeah. Because
the goal here is to not step on any toes or point any fingers. I don't want people to think that we haven't been where what we're about to talk about. So this applies to us just as much as to everybody else. And I want us to agree that the devil is out there to get us. Okay, and so if we can reduce the avenue that the devil's trying to get us at, then that's even better, you know? And so one of those avenues is social media. So if we could eliminate that would be even better. And so let's mention the elephant in the room is that you're probably watching this on a social media platform, right? And so, but I want us to kind of specifically talk more about the approach and the specific kind of social media. So your approach to social media. So here's the unpopular opinion, is that social media is bad, and is bad enough that we should eliminate it. Okay, there you go. And some people probably already clicked away from the video.
We just lost all of our audience.
Yeah. So it's something that I've been battling past 2-3 years probably, in terms of me thinking on it and how to really process this. But I think the content of this discussion that we're about to have will be, we're going to talk about the pros, the cons, the good and the bad,
and the ugly.
Yeah, and we want to come to a conclusion that you and I and our audience can think on, see if we can apply this to our lives, because ultimately we want everything that we do to glorify God.
That's right.
So let's do this. Let's come to a fair conclusion and see what happens.
That sounds good. A lot of my audience, I'm trying to talk to men, young men, older men, whoever, just men who want to be more manly in all of their life. And so this definitely applies to men, both men who are married, men who are not married, but even more so for the audience that may be watching this and maybe they're a wife, maybe they're a kid, maybe they're a Gen Zer, maybe they're a youth or a young adult, wherever and whoever. But it applies to pretty much anybody with one of these, right? Yep. I mean, if you don't have a smartphone, you probably don't have an issue with social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, so audience-wise, hopefully this inspires a lot of people.
100%. The first thing that comes to mind is all the bad things that comes out of social media, and I remember my time when I realized how much it's been impacting my spiritual life, my spiritual walk with God, and it made me realize that what would happen if I just removed it. So I took some steps, and because I looked at what it caused me to do, and that is sin. So let's talk about that.
Let's dissect that.
I went and made a list of all the different sins that social media can cause you to do.
Ooh, I like this.
Right. And I want to make sure realize that sin comes out of the heart, okay? The heart is deceitful. Sin comes out of the heart, not out of the social media platform itself.
Correct.
Right? And I want us to understand that there's a difference. When you see an image, the image itself is not the sin. The sin is what's processed inside your heart.
Correct.
Okay? And so So what is the sin or sins that can be caused because of social media? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Lust.
That's a very good one, especially us men these days. Like, does that help your pornography problem?
Right?
If you continually get on social media and you always encounter lustful thoughts, how does that help you? And you continue to do the same thing over and over, and sometimes you don't even realize it. Another thing is anger. I would get on social media and see, oh, so and so is doing this. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. I think a different way about this person now.
Yeah.
Or they didn't tell me that they were going there. Why didn't you invite me? And then you're angry again. Another thing is covetousness.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's for sure. Like, oh, I wish I had that. Man, they have a better life than me. Which is probably a lie, because that's what social media does to you.
The whole design of it.
Which is the next one, is lying. Lying is a sin. Social media is designed for you to paint a picture of your life in such a way that looks so good.
So perfect.
But that's a lie.
Flawless.
Everybody knows. Even the world, not even from a Christian perspective, that's talked about. That it just paints a picture of the good side of you.
Right.
And you're so essentially, it might not be intentionally, but you're lying to your audience that you have this certain life when it's really not that way. Another one is addiction. We get addicted to these platforms and we get on them. We waste time on them. There's a sin right there. That's the time that God gives you, and you're using it in such a way. And then on my last list, I just put all the 10 Commandments. Let's just stick that in there. I should have said that from the beginning. You know, it's idolatrous, right?
Mm-hmm. And you're sitting there staring at the screen for hours.
Yep. As a Christian, you see Christians doing things, and they're calling themselves Christians, and you see certain things on social media, and they call themselves Christians. That's taking the Lord's name in vain, essentially, because you're carrying the name Christian, calling yourself a Christian, even though there's certain things that you do, and then you're proclaiming that you're a follower of Christ. I think that's blasphemy.
Yeah.
It is blasphemy. And then the fourth commandment, the Sabbath day, right? I see this all the time. Then in church, it's so easy to sit in the service and pull out your phone and just start scrolling through social media. Is that how you respect the Sabbath day? There you go. Yep. There's a sin right there. The fifth commandment, disobeying your parents.
That's a big one.
Right? There you go. And there's another one you can't get around. Sometimes your parents don't want you to do a certain thing on social media or related to social media, or it's not related to social media, and you're on social media so that you could avoid doing a chore. I mean, it's just there's so many ways to apply disobeying your parents with social media.
Just to build on that one real quick, I mean, kids even have different name profiles on social, so their parents can't find. I mean, parents have social media, so the parents can't find their kids. Yeah, and they do all sorts of stuff. Yeah, that again, like you said, check off a lot of these 10 Commandments. For sure. Right.
And let's go to the sixth commandment. That's
everyone's gonna be like, you can't do that with social media, but
there's murder, right? Yeah. Jesus says that if you hate your brother, it's you've committed murder in your heart. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I felt that way because of what I saw on social media with someone else. Not saying I wanted to kill someone, right. but it sometimes it made me angry, and I don't think that's okay. But it's not okay.
I would say that people have murdered someone off of social media based off of what they saw as well, because there's a lot of crazy people out there, but social media doesn't help that fact either.
Yeah. Wow. And then we go to the seventh one, adultery. We talked about that one. Lust. If you lust after someone, Jesus says you've committed adultery in your heart. That's a big one. And then the ninth commandment is lying. We talked about that one. We're painting a picture that's not true in our lives. And then the 10th one, covetousness.
What about stealing?
Stealing on social media, that's a good one.
It's a big one in business, I would say.
Actually, I missed that. I skipped
we went
stealing.
From
that's 8.
Yeah,
that's
we
right.
That's right. 7, 8, 9.
I think there's plenty of ways to steal
Oh yeah.
on social media, whether it's someone else's image, copyright issues, music, or stealing someone's time.
Boom.
Right?
Yep. Your own, for that matter.
Yeah, we could talk a lot about that one and about the causes, the sin causes, but
Yeah.
essentially what I came to and as a conclusion for myself is it causes me to do all these things, right? Whether it's 1 time a day or 10 times a day, it will be different each time. It can be the same sometimes. I get off of social media and I feel this certain way that I want to stop it. And I started to realize it's causing me to do all these things, all these sins. Why do I keep going back to it when I can eliminate the platform that is making me do these things,
Yes.
and then I can get closer to God because of that? So about 2-3 years ago, I started off with deleting Instagram. Some people who know me know I had just like 3 pictures on Instagram. I was not very heavy.
I took one of them.
That's right. Yeah, and it was a good one. And so I was not like I didn't have a big footprint on Instagram, but I was on it a lot. You know, nobody knows about you, how much you're on it, but it's so time consuming. It's addictive. And so I just got off of it. Finally came to this conclusion, and it's been great. Highly recommend it to anybody who's considering it. Because the thing is, people do this. I'm going on a social media cleanse.
Oh yes, those are the
Why?
most funny ones though.
Why are you going on a social media cleanse? Is it bad for you? Yeah. So are you planning to go back on it?
Not the same way.
Probably. How is it going to help you? If you keep doing the social media cleanse, it's telling you something. That's a ding, 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 red flag. You know,
Bro,
like it's telling you something.
A social media cleanse is like that person who eats fast food and then says, I'm going on a cleanse. And after 30 days of no McDonald's, goes right back to eating 3 Big Macs a day. That's social media cleansing. Like,
Yeah.
well, it's not a cleanse if you go back to it
Yeah.
the same way you were on it.
Yeah, and there are benefits to the cleanse, but if you're going to keep going back to it and doing more cleanses, it just raises the flag that something's wrong and something has to be fixed long term, not just these temporary cleanses that you're doing. And so it made me wonder, what is social media really designed for?
That's a good question. And I think it also depends on, because right now, a lot of platforms are intermixing the whole, like Reels, for example.
Yeah.
Reels wasn't a thing for Instagram. Reels wasn't a thing for YouTube Shorts, wasn't a thing. If you go back to the design of where the short videos came from, I think we'll mention it here, but that's a huge one.
Yeah. It's meant to get you hooked.
Yeah.
If you're not getting hooked, then you're not using social media right.
Yeah.
Probably.
Or the content that's being created for you is not being done right. You just keep scrolling.
I'm very confident that you can look this up. They're spending millions of dollars to understand what is the best way for our audience to use our platform more and more.
That's the number one point of social media.
Millions of dollars are spending just on organizing teams that will come up with these ideas. For example, the layout of all your buttons.
Yes.
Pull up your social media, pull up your Snapchat. Look at how the buttons are laid out. It's intentional. There's no doubt about that. It makes it easier for you to navigate through things, for you to stream through YouTube, stream through the Discovery page on Instagram, and everything is done in a way so that you can binge watch.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's an entertainment, and it's interesting because I'm 32. I'm a 90s kid. We didn't have phones. I mean, I got my first phone when I was in high school. It was a flip phone. It didn't have social media on there. Can you imagine how much data
Yeah.
you'd be spending just to watch something?
Yeah.
You'd be grounded for life.
yeah.
It was on the computer.
It's funny because I'd consider myself a 90s kid.
Oh, you consider
Yeah,
yourself a 90s kid.
because I was born in the 99.
Boom.
So I'm
You still
there-
made it.
I'm still there.
And so, like, it's interesting, like you just mentioned, in form of entertainment, social media has taken, everyone's time in entertainment. People don't rent a blockbuster movie, and if you know what that is, then you're a 90s kid. But otherwise, like, you're not going out and watching a movie as much as you're watching more content on your short stuff, on your short reels and whatnot, more than you were ever before in any movies you're watching right now, unless you're watching a show on repeat, binge watching. But that's entertainment.
Yeah, and the hard truth is that it's designed to corrupt you. You know, it's not going to make you better, is it? I don't see it that way. Debatable, but
But
here's another design of social media. It's designed to give you a platform that you can create your own profile to express yourself.
Correct.
There you go. And from the surface, you'd think, what's wrong with that? Well, here's what I think of when I speak on that, because when I got saved at 16 years old, I wanted to give everything I had to the service of Jesus Christ, give everything I ever am and was to God, and I want to express who Jesus is in everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Forget myself, forget who I am to myself, because I was just given eternal life, and I want to say things like I owe everything to God.
Yeah.
You know, and God would say, you don't owe me anything. It was a free gift. But as a response, as a natural response, actually a supernatural response, is that I want to live my life in such a way that's going to be pleasing to God and 100%. And I don't care about expressing myself. I just want to express Christ. Go and preach the gospel and teach people about Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And then here comes along somebody who invented this something so-called social media platform. Hey, you should make a profile about yourself and put everything on there. Let people know who you are. Let people see your life on the daily. People can follow you, leave you some likes on some photos if they like it. Okay, I'm going to do my best to do very good in that. I'm going to be diligent in my pictures, in my communications with other people, so that I can get a lot of followers. And that's just reality. That's how it works, you know. And I'm just saying it in a way that's a little bit, you know, like making it sound bad. But that's just reality. That's how it's designed for you to make you do. And I just don't have the desire to do that. Ever since I got saved, I felt like I wanted to give everything to God. And as I'm in my walk, I fell into the addiction of social media, and I'm trying to make a turn on that. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's good. A couple things I wanted to share, because like as you're bringing all this up, I got like fireworks going on in my head right now.
Mm-hmm.
A huge part of very first thing I thought of when you just mentioned all that was, here we are saying, I've got followers. And many people live and breathe by this, like checking how many followers they just gained off their recent post, story, video, whatever. Mm-hmm. So they're gaining followers to themselves, yet they are doing zero, absolutely zero, to gain followers for Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's in a shell. It's an egoistic system built all around yourself to build your ego, build arrogance, and fulfill a lot more sins. In a nutshell, the designers of Instagram, Facebook, and all these other platforms are there to steal your time and earn your business by understanding more about you. Here, share about yourself. But in a nutshell, what they do with that information is they grab all of that, the more they have about you, the more they can market to you, the more they can sell to you, which is why if you've ever talked about a certain subject on your, and then you get an ad about it, you're like, I wonder why I got an ad. We're not even talking about searching anymore. Like if you search, on Google, fastest cars or whatever, no doubt you're going to start seeing cars in your Instagram posts and stuff. And that's just how it's all blended together by now. But if we kind of dissect it all, and I'm going to date myself here by saying, I remember my MySpace days. MySpace was designed for college. It was designed for people to talk to each other within college, right? And then build a platform, share like their music. There's like a music thing background, all about expressing themselves. My mom at the time, I want to say I was like 10 years old, and all my friends had MySpace. Everyone had a platform. Everyone had the ability to express themselves online. And my mom was like, "No, you're not getting it." I'm like, "Why?" Like, you don't need it. It's a waste of time. I don't feel comfortable about this new thing. It wasn't new for me at the time, but everyone had MySpace. It was a thing. I mean, Facebook didn't come around until later, which that was more for college students, and then obviously built into the biggest social media platform in existence, who then bought Instagram out. We got this mega tech giant. And if I want to backtrack just a little bit, because I think it's important when we think about the design and we think about what all the platforms are now doing. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
The first the first social media platform to even launch this was TikTok. All these other companies borrowed that idea from TikTok because it worked. TikTok comes around in 2006, I want to say. Hold on. I had it up because I was a little bit, I want to know my facts straight. I'll find it later. It's in the early 2000s.
I'm surprised.
2000, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking about MySpace.
Oh.
2016.
Okay, that sounds more...
2016.
That's more realistic.
I'm sorry, guys. We're talking about TikTok in 2016, and what I wanted to say about that is how much we've progressed and actually degraded the general population in everything by just a short 7-8 years. That's insanity. Like from 2016 to 2023, how fast have we grown in these apps and how much usage is coming out of these places?
Yeah.
So like TikTok comes around, they're doing things different. People don't really think about it until they realize there's money in it. So these bigger tech giants begin to put millions of dollars into their platforms to copy that and make Instagram Reels, to make shorts, to make, all these other platforms are using, because the more they have of you, the more they can do with that.
Yeah.
And so the design, as far as for me, I'm going to get personal here too then. I didn't grow up in social media when it first launched. I got social media pretty late in the game compared to those of my age group. I had Facebook in college. I did that so I can connect with people because I was the clubs and outreach senator. I did like the college clubs on campus, and and there's a lot of international students. I still talk to a couple of them and they're other side of the world, which is really cool. So there is some great stuff, but we're talking about the design flaws and whatnot right now. And what I noticed is over time, once Instagram mostly for me, is the amount of time you spend on Instagram. However, Instagram wasn't the way it is today, where it was a huge advertising tech giant. It wasn't owned by Meta. It was more of a Pinterest, so to say. People posted, like, it was all about how the profile looked like. It was more Pinterest than it was Facebook until obviously later. But when it was bought out and Instagram became more of a non-political social media platform, it took everyone by storm. Like, everyone jumped on Instagram.
Yeah.
It was the only platform that had what it had to offer without all the political stuff, because Facebook was very political. It was mostly, what people thought about stuff and whatnot. And people were tired of that. So they jumped to that, especially the younger generation. And so for me, when I, noticed the problem of using it more, it wasn't as much of a problem at first. Because again, Instagram was very different at the time. The problem came later. The problem came for me when I realized that it had my attention when my attention needed to be elsewhere. And I'm not even talking productivity. I'm talking about sitting there in the room and noticing that your child had to say your name or call you 3 times. Dad, dad, dad. And I heard it on the 3rd time. Your wife is saying, hey, your daughter's calling you. What? That should not have happened. That should not keep happening. My daughter shouldn't be getting my attention and me looking at my phone and calling me 3 times. Like, daddy, 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 right? That hurt. That's when I think I realized that it was an issue of something is stealing my time away from what I should be doing.
Wow. Yeah.
And it kind of just brought it home, right? However, like, did I delete it? No. I run multiple businesses. We'll talk about the business use and whatnot a little bit later, right? But I was looking for ways to spend less time on it, which meant that I didn't just post just to get followers. I didn't post just to get some kind of good feeling out of it. Like, if you look at my Instagram today, there's nothing flashy about it. There's nothing, it's not. I don't have a huge footprint in the social tech world either. However, something I recently started doing, and literally this month, which is already helping me by a landslide, and I hope that it helps other people, is I took my social media off my phone. However, I am not off social media. I have a tablet with social media on there, and it makes it difficult in certain things, like posting, like other things. However, I have Instagram on my phone. However, it's in a 3rd folder. So it's in a folder within a folder on the 3rd page. Because what I've noticed, and I only noticed this once I started this, was I'm standing in line at Trader Joe's. Boom, boom. It's usually right there. Well, now it's not there. I'm like, well, why am I going there? Mm-hmm. It's a habit.
Yeah.
It's a dumb habit that you get hooked on. It's a drug.
That's exactly what I want to say next.
It's
It's a terrible way to live. I think you're doing yourself a disservice. People call it social media, and some people call it anti-social media. It just I can't imagine how you can continue to live this way, because I'm the same with you. Put this in the real world. You're out with a group of friends, and you have some chance to sit down because you're waiting for something, whatever that may be. Okay, sit down. Everybody pulls out their phones. Okay, we're getting somewhere. First thing, somebody clicks on social media. I mean, someone's clicking on Instagram, someone's clicking on Snapchat, and ever since I started doing this, ever since I started getting off of social media, I'm now observing this from a different perspective, because I'm sitting there looking at everybody on their phones, and I'm seeing someone texting someone else taking a picture. It's just so frustrating that people live this way. It's toxic, and it's just people aren't controlling themselves.
You know what's even more frustrating? I take my family out to a restaurant, and I see other families with their kids and tablets. Mm-hmm. And the restaurants are like, kids can't stand still, so let's fix this. Let's give them tablets and games to play on.
Yeah.
Like, people used to go out as a family to spend quality time together. Mm-hmm. It was a luxury, right? Mm-hmm. And you just come there and put a tablet in front of their face, so just to keep them occupied, because you can't keep a conversation or keep them occupied. Like, give them a coloring page.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know what else I've seen? And I've done this myself as well. You would go to the top of the screen on the stories, and you have so many followers that you click on the story and you just you're not even. And I've seen people doing that. And I'm saying, why are you doing that? I don't know. There's no reason. There's no point. Why are you doing something that's pointless? Because I want all the stories to be seen. Like, I want them to clear it from my page. Well, it's gonna 2 minutes later. It's gonna keep coming back. I've done this. Okay, and so it's just absurd.
It's funny.
Or you're it's like 12 o'clock at night. You're in bed. You're looking at the YouTube Shorts or the Reels on Instagram, and or the Discover page on Snapchat. I don't know what's the name for it, but it's the portrait videos that you just swipe up and you just keep going, because they're like they have a time limit on them. So eventually they're just unlimited. That's a terrible way to live. What are you doing to yourself? It just doesn't stop. I've done this to myself countless times.
It's a black hole.
Oh my goodness! It's designed to make you do that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. That's called binge watching, right?
Yeah. It's crazy because, like, you would binge watch a show, right? Mm-hmm. I would argue the point that people binge watch more stories and reels than they do actual movies and videos.
Yeah.
They probably even surpass all the videos they've ever watched in their life.
Yeah.
With how much, I mean, I talked to, I work with youth at my church. Mm-hmm. And we did this thing where I was like, I'm going to give a prize, a gift card, $25 gift card to whoever has the least amount of screen time on their phone. Mm-hmm. And I was hoping to find someone with a couple hours. The lowest we found, I think, was 3 or 4 hours on that day or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of screen time. Okay, I understand. Like, you're texting someone, that's screen time, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about entertainment. If you're spending 4 hours watching stuff every single day, what are you going to be? What are the thoughts? What are you going to be thinking about? Mm-hmm. What are you going to believe in?
Yeah.
I mean, you spend 5 minutes reading the Bible and you spend 4 hours watching reels.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
You have so much information, and without even knowing it, your brain is processing it. Eventually, it's going to turn you into something you don't even realize.
I told you, you're into a robot. Mm-hmm. As people start believing stuff, and I got people in youth that are like saying certain phrases. I'm like, where'd you find that phrase? Why do you believe this? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's evident. I'm like, no, you're watching someone that I've heard a lot about.
Yeah.
And it sounds very unbiblical. It sounds very egoistic, very egocentric. Yeah.
This is a platform that the devil is no doubt using to indoctrinate people with whatever the world is offering.
Yep.
And it allows you to do that. That's what it's designed to do.
That's the design.
When it comes to making a profile for yourself, I wanted to touch on the different kinds of platforms
Yep.
that are available. We have Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube. I observed a little bit of a difference in each of them. I want to talk about it a little bit because I think it makes a difference in the approach to if you're going to choose to use social media, what you should avoid, what is maybe okay. It's a very touchy subject because it's very opinion oriented. You can
Right.
you can make a bunch of rabbit trails talking about these things, but for me, so I'm admitting this is an opinion, that there are very profile oriented platforms like Instagram. You see someone's profile, you click on it, there you go, a bunch of information. Other platforms don't allow you to do that.
Right.
On Snapchat, they don't have much of a profile, just their name, and then you can send them a picture or a text. That's about it, and watch their story. So there's a difference. I'm not familiar with Be Reels. I'm not familiar with TikTok.
Okay.
I've never been on those platforms. I don't know what they offer you, but ones that are very profile oriented, I feel that are very different than, like, Instagram is very different than from Snapchat for that reason, because
Right.
Snapchat is meant to have that special interaction with people where you send a picture or a text, because that's basically all you can do. And you can also have fun doing it. You have filters, you have a bunch of different stuff like that.
Right. Filters. Yeah.
And but on Instagram, it's a set profile that you can edit in the future. You post pictures, people can come on it. It expresses yourself. One is not better than the other because they waste time just as much as the other one. Snapchat, it like programs you to like this platform like a 13-year-old girl.
Yes.
Like
Well, it was designed for that.
there's no doubt.
It was designed for 13-year-old girls to show themselves
Yeah.
to 13-year-old boys in school, and very much because it expires.
I've seen 20-year-old guys that are still acting like 13-year-old girls because of how I see them using Snapchat. It's just amazes me how much they don't grow out of that. Because you'd post a story, and you just have like one word in there, like I'm at the gas station, or
Well, it's because
you know,
they have those things called like how many hearts you have. What was it? Like if you kept like a post a day, if I post some- streaks,
that's even worse.
it's the same thing as binge watching. You have to go back and use it that day. It's a high. It's a drug.
As I've matured, I've come to realize that if there's something doesn't have a purpose or a good reason for it, why do it? Streaks. What is the point of doing that? Just because you could show someone you have a bigger number than them, and the higher your streak, the crazier you are because you've been on a streak with somebody for 2 years because you've sent them a picture every single day since then. Again, going back to the stories, I remember seeing people just post things, and I'm like, why? Why did I need to see that? Why did I even click on that?
Yeah.
It's just this mentality. I don't understand it.
It's habit.
Yeah. Like, I know it's harsh to say this, but I had times when I'd open up a story and I'd be like, nobody cares. I don't know why you did that. It's just, and I'm not hating on anyone. I'm just saying, why do you think that this makes an impact in any way that you just post this random thing? Okay, if it's like you're at some special event, but I'm talking about those selfies of like, no, pictures of the wall or something like that. You know what I mean? Just this 13-year-old girl mentality that you're getting somewhere or you're somebody. I don't know.
It's interesting how different the platforms are, and there's also, I think, a point there. Facebook buys Instagram, yet keeps a lot of the things the same, and then comes out with Threads. Now, Threads is a whole new thing that nobody really uses, but everyone got because it gave you a number, and the quicker you got Threads, the lower the number.
Yeah.
But here you have social media upon social media upon social media platforms come out. Be Real is pretty new. Threads, brand new. What else came out this year? I mean, they keep coming out, right? But yet, they're designed to do things a little bit different. Threads was in direct competition with Elon Musk after he bought Twitter. It looks just like Twitter. If you put it side by side, it's very similar to Twitter.
Yeah, I actually forgot about Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twitter. It's like, what happens to Twitter? Well, after the whole thing about after politics got involved, people kind of just kind of But and then Twitter is a whole different thing. Ever since Elon Musk bought it, people are like, oh, I got a voice. What you have? Oh, you think now you have a voice because a certain person owns it, right?
Yeah.
You have more freedoms on it. Okay. Then you have Rumble, which is a direct competition to YouTube because YouTube started to silence certain things if you believed in certain things, right?
Yeah.
So like you have like 10 main social media outlets, but yet they do things different. And the more of these outlets that you have, the more time it steals from you.
Yeah.
Because now you got I posted to Facebook, but now I got to post it to Instagram and YouTube and Rumble and thankfully YouTube, Instagram came up with a way where you can share it to Facebook right away. I mean, Facebook designed it right away. Like, hey, we need them an easy way for them to share in both platforms. So you just post a story once and it goes onto your Facebook story too.
Isn't it frustrating for your followers that they are on
See it
all
twice?
this? Yeah, they have to see it twice.
It's funny though because like my Instagram followership is way different than my Facebook followership. I have a much more mature audience on Facebook because I used it more for business.
Yeah.
Than on my Instagram. I have people I don't even know my followers on Instagram. I have some people from church, some people from my past organizations, and I have a bunch of random people that I don't even know.
Yeah.
That maybe liked a carp video and followed me. And probably
course.
I will never see my stuff again because they're following 20 million people. But like it's a loophole.
Yeah. So we talked about Snapchat, how it's not a very profile-oriented platform. Now, Instagram, on the other hand, very profile-oriented, just like Facebook. And so you'd be able to view things about a certain someone, how much they've expanded on their life, or how much they've put on there. These pictures from 5 years ago, right, on a certain trip. Great. Beautiful pictures. And then you start seeing things like the beach photos. That's where you're able to have a little bit more of a deeper interaction in not a good way, because now somebody for the opposite gender is posting photos of themselves in a swimsuit, or it's on someone's story, right? And that's the reality of every guy, that you either click on it a second time or zoom in a little bit, right? How does that help? How does that help you?
Yeah.
What are you doing to yourself? You're going back to our list here of on lust, and you're able to do the same on Snapchat, of course. Click on a story a second time, for example. But now, when it comes to YouTube, that's a different kind of social media as well, because it's not as profile oriented.
Right.
You don't have much of a profile, but you have, because it's a lot of content in video format, and it's not as interactive on a personal level, because you just have comments with people you usually don't know on videos.
There's not much back and forth in
you can make it profile oriented by having a YouTube channel dedicated to vlogging. That's very, very, like, you're digging into their life.
But it's more watching.
Yeah. So for me, I very much would avoid Snapchat, very much would avoid Instagram for the reasons that we discussed. And YouTube, on the other hand, has a lot of content that is so beneficial to everyday life. Like, I need to know how to do something on my car. Right. You can find that information. Yeah. But guess what? You can also find very bad information on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so that's where it gets touchy, and somebody can disagree that, hey, if you believe that Snapchat and Instagram are that bad, why shouldn't you believe the same thing about YouTube? And I think that's fair to say. Everyone should have their own discernment. If you have the Holy Spirit living in you, he should be able to guide you to make the discernment for yourself, what you're watching, how attached you are, because in the end, we have a sinful nature. We can't control ourselves. That's a fact, and so we need that guidance from the Holy Spirit. So Yara, we covered all of the bads that we could think of today.
So far, in 5 years.
The causes of sin and the design of social media, all the things that it causes you to do, that just doesn't glorify God in any way. And I want to talk about the good that can come out of social media. And just a quick list is, Christian-run organizations. Well, what about that? What about the churches that have a church profile? Or what about personal profiles? Like Sergi Kepke wants to post a verse once a week sometimes. What about people getting saved from some of these platforms? We could talk about those things as well. And so I'm sure that the audience has been waiting for this moment to, what about? And so here we go.
But I think that's gonna have to wait for like a part 2 on this, because
All right.
I mean, we're in like 15 minutes at this point. We probably lost a lot of listeners. Maybe they'll come back and listen to this on their way back home when they're driving. But we're actually gonna do a part 2. We're gonna do a part 2 because I feel like there's a lot more discussion regarding the good that I want us to really dive into. So let's keep that. You're in town for just a week here, so hopefully we'll have you back before the end of the week and film that, and I'll release that as soon as I'm done editing this one. But the good is coming, but you'll have to wait for the next episode. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following this social media platform that we're talking about. And again, thanks for covering. That was a lot. That was a lot. And that was a lot of good talking about the bad. So again, thanks for coming on. We'll have you back here this week to finish up this set talking about social media and the dangers within. I hope that this is blessed you, and I hope that you're learning something that maybe you haven't thought about before. And I challenge you to really look at why you use social media and how you use it. And I feel like if you make a change today, regardless of what that change might be, maybe you delete it completely, maybe you start that process into deleting certain ones and getting to a zero use or a limited use social media, I think it's going to bless you. We'll be back on episode 2 of this Danger of Social Media Platform.